Welcome to the Deep Dive, where we cut through the noise and get straight to the insights that matter most. Now, if you're like most people, you've probably interacted with AI quite a bit recently, maybe, uh, powering a chatbot, helping draft an email.
Or generating images, perhaps?
Exactly. And here's something interesting. There's a really good chance you might have used what we call open source AI without even realizing it.
Mm-hmm.
Think about powerful models like Llama, Mistral, maybe even Granite. These are just a few, prominent public examples out there today. So our mission today is to really demystify what open source AI actually means. We're going to dive deep into its unique complexities, especially when you compare it to traditional open source software, which, many of us are familiar with.
Right, that's a well-trodden path.
It is. And we're going to unpack its core pillars: transparency, freedom, and this crucial element of data openness. And understanding this stuff isn't just for developers or researchers. It's absolutely vital for anyone engaging with AI,
Mm-hmm.
whether you're just curious about how it works, or maybe you're prepping for a big meeting where AI is like top of the agenda.
Definitely.
Our goal is to equip you with real insights,
Yeah.
not just buzzwords, so you're truly informed.
And that's precisely why this deep dive is so timely and important. Because when we talk about the open source AI landscape, it's not just vast, it's honestly exploding.
Exploding.
Yeah, I mean, we're not talking about a handful of models here. Imagine over 1 million different models readily available on popular repositories. Think Hugging Face, for example.
1 million. Wow.
Over 1 million on Hugging Face alone. So you see, this isn't some niche corner of the tech world anymore. This massive, constantly evolving ecosystem. It's rapidly becoming the foundation for how we interact with AI, personally and professionally.
Okay.
Understanding it is really key to navigating the future of AI.
Okay, let's unpack this concept then. When you first hear open source AI, your mind probably jumps maybe straight to the immediate benefits, right?
And it should, yeah.
Like having the incredible freedom to take a powerful pre-built AI model and then being able to, fine-tune it, adapt it, really customize it for your own specific purposes.
Tailoring it.
Exactly. Maybe for a specific industry or a unique creative project.
Yeah.
That level of tailoring is incredibly practical, empowering even.
Yeah.
But it goes beyond just customization, right?
Mm.
You can also run many of these sophisticated models directly on your own hardware.
Your own servers, yeah, or even locally.
Right, your own servers, even your local machine. And this is a game changer because it translates into, significant cost savings. You avoid relying on expensive cloud services.
Which can add up quickly.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
And often you get a real boost in efficiency because you have direct control over the computing environment. It's really about putting the power directly into your hands.
And what's truly fascinating here, I think, is how the very concept of open source is evolving. For decades, we've understood open source software, right? It's a well-defined thing.
Yeah, pretty established.
But open source AI, it introduces entirely new layers of nuance, primarily because of the critical role played by data and model licensing.
Ah, okay. Data and licensing.
Exactly. These are just technical details. They really dictate how these AI systems are built, how they learn, and importantly, how they can be used and distributed. It adds this layer of complexity we haven't really seen with traditional software.
So it's richer, maybe more challenging?
Definitely more challenging, but ultimately, I'd argue, a far more powerful domain to explore.
Okay, here's where that power you mentioned really comes alive.
Yeah.
We've seen some incredible real-world examples, like one scenario from our source material.
Oh, yeah.
Picture this. A team of brilliant engineers, let's say in Asia, they develop a groundbreaking AI model, plus this massive, perfectly curated data set to train it. And they release it openly.
Okay, putting it out there.
Right. Then, maybe across the globe, a team in California takes that foundational model, perhaps distills it, refines its capabilities, makes it more efficient for a new task.
Building on it.
Exactly. And finally, maybe a nonprofit organization in, say, Texas picks up that refined model and customizes it to significantly streamline their grant writing processes, tailored specifically for their unique domain.
Wow, that's quite a journey.
Isn't it? And that's not just hypothetical. It's a tangible illustration of the power of the open ecosystem for AI. It really highlights this cross-domain collaboration.
Different groups, different expertise.
Precisely. How they can contribute to building solutions that provide immense value across totally diverse fields. It's honestly like sharing the recipe for your favorite dish.
Ah, I like that analogy.
But with the added benefit that others can not only understand it, but also improve it, adapt it for different dietary needs maybe, and then share their variations, creating an even richer culinary landscape.
That analogy actually brings us perfectly to what truly defines an AI system as open source, because it's not just a general idea, or a feeling. There are very specific criteria.
Right. It needs definition.
Exactly. And leading organizations like the Open Source Initiative, OSI, and the Linux Foundation's AI and Data Foundation, they're really at the forefront of defining these standards, trying to bring clarity and consistency to this emerging field.
Okay.
And from their work, we've kind of distilled what we see as the three most important components, or pillars, if you will, that determine if an AI system truly embodies that open source spirit.
Okay, 3 pillars. Let's dive into the first one then.
Ah.
Transparency. What does this genuinely mean in the AI context, especially when we're talking about something as complex as like a neural network? It sounds straightforward, but I imagine it's more than just seeing some code.
You're absolutely right. It goes much deeper than just the code. Transparency means several things. First, yes, the underlying source code for the model, its framework, it must be fully accessible to everyone. And it needs to be licensed under established open source terms. Think licenses like MIT or Apache. Those allow for broad use and modification.
Standard open source stuff there.
Pretty standard, yes. But the true breakthrough of open source AI transparency isn't just seeing the code. It's really about dismantling the black box mystery.
The black box problem.
Exactly. So this means being open about the methodologies used to create the model, the algorithms employed, and critically how the training data itself was produced, curated, processed, all of that.
So, the how behind it all.
Precisely. This level of disclosure allows for rigorous scrutiny by the community. It makes it possible to audit the model for hidden biases or vulnerability.
Which is huge.
It's huge, and ultimately it helps build a level of public trust and accountability that, frankly, proprietary opaque models just can't achieve. It's like being able to inspect every ingredient and every step in that recipe, not just taste the final dish.
That makes a lot of sense. Okay, so if transparency is about understanding how it works, then the second pillar, freedom, that must be about what you can actually do with that understanding, right?
Precisely. Very similar to traditional open source software, users should have the unequivocal ability to use, study, modify, and share the AI system. No restrictions.
Use, study, modify, share. Got it.
But what's absolutely crucial here, and this is where it extends significantly beyond just software clarity, this freedom specifically includes access to the model weights.
The weights. Okay, explain those a bit.
Sure. So for those unfamiliar, think of a model's weights as the billions, sometimes trillions, of tiny learned parameters, like little knobs that the model adjusts during its training process.
You're tuning knobs.
Exactly. These knobs essentially define the model's accumulated knowledge, its patterns, how it processes information to make predictions or generate outputs.
Okay.
Having direct access to these knobs is what truly empowers users. It lets them enable deep modifications, perform highly specific fine-tuning for very niche tasks. Ah, so that's how you really customize it.
That's how you get deep customization.
Yeah.
And you can even contribute your improvements back to the original model. This fosters an incredibly collaborative environment. The model can continuously evolve and improve through collective effort, like a community-driven open workshop for AI.
Okay, that's powerful. And that leads us to the third pillar, which you hinted might be the most complex. Data openness. Why is this particularly important for AI, given these models learn from just vast amounts of information? Why isn't just seeing the model and the weights enough?
Yeah, data openness.
Yeah.
It's absolutely vital because it cuts right to the heart of fundamental questions like fairness, reliability, and potential bias.
Okay.
I mean, how can you truly know if the colossal pre-training data sets a model learned from are unbiased
Yeah.
or representative or even ethical?
Good question. You probably can't without seeing the data.
Exactly. And how can you ensure that the subsequent tuning and inference methods, that is how the model actually makes predictions once it's deployed,
Yeah.
how do you ensure that guarantees fair and consistent outputs?
So, this pillar dictates that an open source AI model needs to provide comprehensive, detailed information about its training data. This includes its scope, what kind of data was collected, what languages, demographics,
A whole picture.
the whole picture, the labeling methods used to categorize it, all the processing techniques applied to prepare it for training.
All the nitty-gritty details.
All of it. Without that level of detail, it's incredibly difficult, maybe impossible, to audit a model effectively for potential biases, unintended consequences, or even just to understand its limitations.
So it's foundational for trust.
Absolutely. Underscoring the importance of this for building trust and promoting ethical AI development, It cannot be overstated. It really gives you the full ingredient list, not just the finished meal.
So on the surface, this all sounds incredibly beneficial.
Yeah.
We've got transparency, freedom, data openness, fostering this deep collaboration. It paints a picture of an ideal, rapidly innovating scenario.
It does sound good, yeah.
But I'm guessing it's not all smooth sailing in this exciting, brave new world. Open source AI must face its own unique and significant challenges, right? Tell us, what are the main hurdles that developers' users often encounter here?
You're absolutely right. While the potential benefits are immense, open source AI is definitely not without its significant challenges, and many of them stem directly from its evolving nature.
Like what?
Well, one major issue is simply defining what model openness truly means in practice. It sounds straightforward,
That
but
not always clear cut.
not at all. Some models, for example, might only share access to their weights, those internal knobs we talked about. Or maybe they let you download the model, but don't provide the full underlying source code due to, say, licensing complexities.
Okay.
Others might only be accessible via an API hosted in the cloud, meaning you can use the model, but you don't have local control or the ability to fundamentally modify it.
So varying degrees of open.
Exactly. These different degrees of openness can create confusion and definitely limit the full realization of those core open source principles.
Makes sense. What else?
Another significant hurdle is the persistent issue of training data secrecy.
Back to the data.
Always back to the data in AI. Many of the most powerful, cutting-edge AI models, proprietary ones, sure, but also some that claim a degree of openness, they don't fully disclose their training data.
Why not?
It could be for various reasons, legal or ethical concerns about the data itself, or often because that data is considered the secret sauce.
The competitive advantage.
Precisely. The proprietary ingredient that gives their model an edge. And this lack of data transparency, as we just discussed, makes it incredibly difficult for the community to assess bias, understand limitations, or even replicate the training. Imagine trying to fix that recipe without knowing the original ingredients.
Yeah, impossible. Any other big challenges?
And finally, there's the very practical barrier of resources. Training these truly large, state-of-the-art AI models, it requires substantial computing power.
GPUs. Lots of them.
Lots of GPUs, exactly. Access to specialized hardware. This can be an enormous barrier for smaller contributors, independent developers, even academic researchers in the open source community.
So it limits who can really push the boundaries.
It can, yeah. While the models might be open, the ability to contribute at the highest levels, to truly innovate on par with well-funded labs, can be restricted by access to these expensive resources. However, it's worth noting, the community is actively working on solutions, developing smaller, more efficient models, leveraging cloud computing credits, fostering collaborative research grants, trying to democratize access.
Good to hear.
Ugh.
But despite these hurdles,
Oh, absolutely. Despite these hurdles, the immense benefits of open source AI truly stand out and continue to drive its rapid adoption. Allowing developers to run and experiment with powerful models directly on their own machines for free, for instance, that dramatically lowers the barrier to entry. It fuels innovation at a pace we've rarely seen.
more people can get involved.
Exactly. More people getting hands-on, trying new ideas, building on existing work without prohibitive costs. And furthermore, for organizations, it provides just unparalleled flexibility and control.
How so?
Well, they can choose exactly what models best fit their specific needs. They can ensure data privacy by keeping operations in-house. They can scale their AI solutions on robust, familiar platforms like Linux or Kubernetes.
Right, using their existing infrastructure.
Precisely. This adaptability and sovereignty over their AI stack. That's incredibly valuable.
Okay, so if you're navigating this evolving landscape, trying to make sense of all these models, there are varying degrees of openness from, truly transparent to partially accessible. How can you responsibly evaluate them? What practical, actionable advice can you give our listeners, people looking to adopt or use open source AI?
That's a truly crucial question. It's where the rubber meets the road for responsible AI adoption. When evaluating these models, there are a few key steps you should always take.
Okay, what are they?
First, always check frameworks designed to assess model openness. A good example is the Linux Foundation's Model Openness Framework.
The LFMOF.
Exactly. These provide a structured, standardized way to understand what's truly transparent and accessible about a given model. Are the weights available? Is the training data documented? It helps you cut through marketing claims to see the real level of openness.
Good tip. What's next?
Second, it's really wise to document your AI usage with an AI bill of materials.
An AI bill of materials, like for manufacturing?
Kind of. Think of it as a detailed ingredient list for your AI system. It logs every component, the specific model version you're using, the data sets it interacted with, any modifications or fine-tuning you performed.
So full traceability.
Exactly. It's vital for accountability, troubleshooting, and ensuring compliance down the line.
Makes sense. And finally,
And finally, before you deploy any open source AI model, you absolutely must validate it thoroughly for accuracy and fairness in your specific use case.
not just general benchmarks.
No, relying solely on general benchmarks isn't enough. Due diligence means testing it against your own data in your context. This helps ensure trust, mitigates risks, and promotes responsible use in the real world.
Excellent advice.
Ah,
Wow, what a deep dive into an incredibly important and rapidly evolving field.
it really is moving fast.
It's clear that while the spirit of open source has been around for a while in software, open source AI is definitely a nuanced, dynamic space, its own set of challenges, but also immense benefits.
Absolutely.
But at its core, it genuinely aims to provide collaboration, transparency, and trust in these powerful AI models that are becoming such an integral part of our daily lives. Understanding these core elements truly empowers you, the listener, to navigate this space with confidence, make informed decisions, and maybe even contribute to its future.
And this brings us to a final thought for you to ponder. Given the complexities and the incredible advantages of open source AI, especially concerning things like data transparency and these varying degrees of accessibility, how might the future landscape of AI innovation and equitable access be shaped by the choices we make today in defining what openness truly means?
Mhm.
What implications does this ongoing evolution have for you, the user, as AI becomes even more deeply integrated into every facet of our lives? Something to think about.
That is definitely something to think about. We'd absolutely love to hear your thoughts on that. What topics are you interested in us deep diving into next? Share your insights and suggestions in the comments below. If you found something insightful in today's discussion, please give this deep dive a like. It really helps others find it.
It does.
And of course, don't forget to subscribe to the channel and activate that notification bell so you don't miss any of our future deep dives. Share this with others who you think might find it insightful.
Spread the knowledge.
Exactly. Because we're always here to bring you more fascinating insights into the world of technology and AI. Thanks for joining us.